What's up, guys? Welcome to Underdeveloped. Today we're gonna do a review for you guys for this movie called Promising Young Woman, directed by Emerald Fennell. She is an English actor, screenwriter. She also was the showrunner for Killing Eve, which is a pretty big show on BBC.
Yeah.
And she also was an actor on The Crown. So she's pretty big in the BBC world for sure.
Yeah, she's very big in the British world.
But she never directed, so this is
Yeah.
actually her first directorial debut. A lot of writers don't necessarily direct, so
Yeah, all of them don't.
and for her debut, like it's a pretty good job.
Yeah, I'd agree. As like a first film, I'd say this is great.
Yeah, it's definitely a decent film. It's a very solid film, and the directorial debut means like this is really impressive. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, it really is. Because a lot of great filmmakers start off a lot worse than this.
Yeah.
Far worse than this.
Yeah, easily. This is visually stunning, very colorful, vibrant. Some great set decor, some great props, set design,
Overall,
set
really
dressing.
good acting.
really good acting, really solid acting. But before we get into to this, I wanted to just discuss everything else first. So, it was directed by Emerald Fennell and also produced by Margot Robbie. It is under her
Production
Production
company,
company.
Lucky Chap
Lucky Chap.
Entertainment.
Yep, sounds really British there.
Yeah.
Lucky chap. All right, so this film follows a woman named Cassie Thomas. She's pushing 30. She's a med school dropout, and she's pretty much a detached person, detached from reality. She's pretty much in her own in her own world. She lives with her parents. She isn't married. She has no boyfriend. She has no kids. She works at a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm saying all this because it plays a part in the rest of the
Yeah.
movie. Her family always want, especially her mother, one is like why she isn't like, why she's still working the same job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, why she dropped out, why she's staying home.
Yeah.
Where she?
Yeah, and on their 30th birthday, they give a very clear sign of what they want.
Yeah, they literally give her like a suitcase. But anyways, so this woman basically lives a double life. From during the weekends at night, she goes to clubs, bars, and she masquerades as a really intoxicated, drunk, inebriated, whatever you want to call it, lady. And when a guy takes her home and starts to take advantage of her, she drops her facade and confronts them. Nonetheless, which leads to a very awkward, tense situation. And she just leaves and puts it in her ledger afterwards. So that's her thing, and we get to we notice that, and as the film progresses, we understand why she does it. Basically, when she was in med school, her friend Nina was raped, and it was videotaped, and they was never apprehended for what they did, and she was embarrassed, and she was traumatized, and she dropped out. And Cassie dropped out to take care of her, and she committed suicide sometime afterwards. So throughout this whole film, this shows her pretty much getting even with all the people that was involved, who stood beside and didn't do anything, and actually laughed at the video. But she doesn't get revenge. The way this movie, like the tone and like the music and the cuts, you think this is like some kind of slasher movie, but it's really not. It's just her thing is this movie goes very cerebral. It's very like her thing is manipulation, blackmail. Making people see through threats what she's making them see and feel what she saw and felt, her friend saw and felt, because the whole problem is that nobody really cared about this, and the whole thing is getting even everybody involved. So here she meets the guy randomly at a at the coffee shop that she works for. This guy that used to go to school with her, and they reconnect. It's one awkward moment where she's actually doing her thing at a nightclub and he catches her. But that was quickly resolved in the next scene. He decides to go out with her. They form a relationship, and that comes to sad end when he realizes that he was also, when she gets a hold of the video when Nina was getting, touched up and molested.
The Nina video.
Yeah, he was laughing in the video, and so that ends their relationship abruptly. And then she goes and finally confronts the guy who did that to Nina by masquerading as a stripper at the dude's bachelor party. And that leads to a very bloody end, but cathartic in ways, because end of the day she got what she wanted.
Yeah. She did.
Yeah. So that's the plot. So now going into the movie, what are your thoughts of this movie?
One thing I noticed about like the actual plot structure of this movie, it's kind of almost reflective of the structure of the humor in a way, because the humor is very dry, sarcastic. It likes to fuck with you. It's satirical, and a lot of stuff this kind of happens randomly almost. Like that's how the humor is, to make all these dark random jokes, and that's how a lot of plot points play out. Like with the whole thing with the parents, you'd assume that'd be a bigger part of the movie than it actually is, because it is kind of important earlier on, but it's almost phased out by the end. Mm-hmm. And then there's the whole thing where her relationship with the Bo Burnham character, I think his name is Ryan, it kind of comes out of nowhere, but then you get used to it, you begin to like it, and then out of nowhere, there's this big fucking twist about him, and now all of a sudden, he's an asshole. Mm-hmm. So that's just kind of one thing I noticed, is that the film structure itself plays very well into how the humor itself is presented. They're presented almost being the same, which is, I think, is a very interesting choice for tackling this kind of dark topics.
She works at a coffee shop, so it was bound. Like I have random encounters with people that I met years ago. I've met friends at clubs, parties I haven't seen in like decades.
Yeah.
Like so, random encounters happen. So that was. Okay.
I'm not saying that as a criticism. I'm just saying that's an observation.
No problem.
Like it's random, but it does happen.
Yeah. So therefore, I can forgive that. But okay, so that happens. So when that happens, that actually helps her propel the plot, because he's only connection to people, because he's still hanging on everybody that's attends to school. She doesn't. Mm-hmm. So through him, she gets to everybody else, like Madison, played by
Alison Brie.
The beautiful Alison Brie. Mm-hmm. Shout out to her husband Dave Franco. He's cool and his family's cool.
Shout out to Zoya the Destroyer.
Oh, that's the character on Glow?
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so everything happens because it needs to happen. So that happens, and that goes into, you know what I'm saying, her getting into everybody else. Then Alfred Molina's character, yes, he was in this film, played the lawyer. And then that led her into everyone else, and he literally gives her the location of the bachelor party. So
yeah,
you know what I mean. So he was really necessary, and that also provided her with an actual stable relationship to keep the parents at ease. Because the whole thing of her mother was that, you're 30 and you're not married, you don't have a boyfriend, you work at a coffee shop, you dropped out for some unknown reason. Mm-hmm. Which is weird that they didn't know anything about that, because it seemed like they even mentioned Nina. Like that isn't.
No, they mentioned Nina once.
Oh, okay, so you think that she wouldn't be affected by that? You know what I mean? Like,
because like I do remember this one scene where the father's like, "Hey, we loved Nina like a daughter. We miss her a lot, but we really missed you more." Which. Right. I think if I was in the main character's shoes, I'd have taken that the wrong way. That would have rubbed me off the wrong way.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like they're not sympathetic at all to what she's going through. Like, you can't tell if that's why she's acting weird. Like, you can't make the correlation she dropped out of school to take care of her. Like, that doesn't register in your fucking, like, minds. Like, she's really like the Will Smith song. Parents don't understand. I'm like, what? Now we're at the end of the review, so now it's time to give...
Promising Young Woman a GPA rating.
A grade point average. So, what are you putting down on the report card for the first quarter or the final quarter, whatever?
This is a tough one.
Yeah, me too.
I'm thinking somewhere in like the low to mid threes. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe 3.3, 3.4, something like that. That's kind of where I'm at. Because I'm not head over heels over this movie, but it is definitely a good movie.
I'll give it a 3.5. I think a 3.5 is fair. It makes the D list for sure. That's definitely solid.
Yeah, it's definitely a solid movie. Like, if you're interested in it at all, then you should probably check it out. It'd probably be your bag of tea, especially if you're in that kind of dark humor.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely This is I recommend this movie. It's a psychological thriller with emphasis on the psychological. It has a really interesting cast.
It has a lot of dark humor. A
lot of dark humor. A great lead.
Mm-hmm. Good cast, really, to be honest.
A fitting end, but also it's like an anticlimactic ending and then leads to a climactic ending at the same time. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
This is the end of the review. If you enjoy this, give us a thumbs up. Hit that noti bell. Hit that follow our social media handles. Mm-hmm. And stay tuned for more content.
I'm dating both of them, and neither one of them knows it, and I feel terrible about it.
But Elizabeth is gone. What do you mean?
She's not gone.
So you broke up with Cece?
I didn't break up with either one of them.
What do you mean?
You process this however you need to process it. If you want to keep talking it out.
Which one are you dating?
Both.
Are you dating Cece?
I'm dating Cece.
Are you dating Elizabeth?
Yes.
How do you do that?
They made me choose.
You have to choose. You can't have both women.
What was I supposed to do?
What, you think you can have a bunch of wives?